Caught between two pretty twins at university, I felt the sting when 2R chose a boyfriend I didn't know about. It's not normal to like a girl then go for her sister, 1L told a friend. Now I've ditched them both, but is it too late for me to find love in this tangled mess? I am uncertain if this is the appropriate subreddit for this topic. If it is not, please let me know where I should post this. I am a 20-year-old male currently attending university and I am about to complete my third year. In the same cohort as mine, there are a pair of fraternal twins. They are both very attractive, intelligent, and academically successful. Initially, I did not think much of them, but as I saw them more frequently at university, I increasingly recognized their beauty. The first one, whom I will refer to as 1L, is a 20-year-old female, and she was the one I was slightly leaning toward. However, I noticed that she had many male friends who were all very close to her and shared numerous classes with her. This made me hesitant to pursue her as I felt uncomfortable getting close to a girl in that situation. Instead, I decided to focus on her sister, whom I will call 2R, also a 20-year-old female. 2R appeared to be more reserved and quieter around boys, but she was much more lively and energetic around her female friends. I found this appealing, so I approached her, and we engaged in small conversations. However, since I am not a naturally extroverted person, I did not feel I was very good at it. This continued for a while, and I sensed she did not seem interested in talking as her tone remained mostly unchanged, with only slight variations that did not signify anything significant. During our second semester of our second year, we attended our first career fair. I arrived early to start interviewing, and after completing interviews with about 4 companies, she arrived at the designated time. As she approached, I was also walking in a direction that brought us face to face. We greeted one another, and I mentioned I had already completed 4 interviews. She asked if the interview questions were difficult, to which I replied they were quite straightforward, based on what we had been informed. Throughout the day, during breaks, we conversed, and it was the most interaction we had during that time. After a while, I noticed a guy who always seemed to be around her. I recognized him as a friend of a friend. While we were on friendly terms, we maintained a casual demeanor as though nothing was amiss. During the summer, 2R managed to secure an internship while I was unable to do so due to the passing of my father and some passport-related issues. Her internship lasted 6 months, from the beginning of June until mid-December. She would occasionally visit the university for reasons unknown to me. During this period, 1L was attending the first semester of her third year while her sister was interning. I saw 1L a few times but did not focus on her since I was interested in 2R when 2R visited. She would nearly always be with this guy or sitting with her friends, which included 1L, and he would join them. Near the end of the first semester of the third year, 2R attended an event organized by her club, and again, this guy was present, staying close to her almost the entire time. I did not have negative feelings toward him, but I was curious and somewhat irritated about his closeness to both 2R and 1L, given that I struggled to talk to 2R. I was sitting with 2 friends when this same guy joined us. One of my friends asked him why he was there. He replied that he was just visiting and mostly there to hang out with 2R. It is worth noting that many of my friends, including female friends who are quite close to 2R and 1L, are aware of my crush on 2R. One of the friends who asked the guy about his presence knew of my feelings and teasingly mocked me for losing, which I found somewhat amusing, so I laughed. The guy near 2R appeared baffled, so my friend explained the situation to him. He then turned to me and stated that I was too late, urging me not to speak poorly of 2R as she did not like me, to which I nodded in agreement, having no intention of doing so. This felt like a decisive blow, and I began to view 2R differently. I experienced a phase of being upset about why she did not choose me, which morphed into disdain that nearly drove me to madness before ultimately reaching a point of indifference about the whole situation. My friends noticed my change in demeanor. While the female friends explained it simply was not meant to be, the male friends, as typical male companions do, began to laugh and tease me. For clarity, their teasing was not meant to be harsh, but rather the playful kind friends share, and I understood this, so I laughed along. They subsequently suggested I pursue 1L, as most of them believed she was the prettier one and knew I had a minor attraction to her before 2R at the time. I was opposed to this notion because I understood it was a bad and peculiar idea. Moreover, during my brief infatuation with 2R, I heard allegations that 1L had disparaged me to 2R and her friends by calling me unattractive. I confided in one of the closest friends of 1L and 2R, someone with whom I felt comfortable, and she approached 1L about it. 1L denied making such statements. I tend to trust this friend as she is genuinely a nice person, and I believe she would not be close friends with 1L had 1L been unkind. Anyway, I moved past it and stopped thinking about it. My friends pressed me to pursue 1L, but I maintained my reluctance. Things began to shift as I noticed peculiar behaviors. It may be a result of my overthinking, but I observed her casting quick glances at me before averting her gaze, Although they were not the friendliest of looks, they did not seem to express malice. As someone who naturally observes and tends to overanalyze, this began to weigh on my mind. This continued for an extended period, yet I convinced myself they were mere coincidences. The strangest occurrence was when 1L featured in two of my dreams. Nothing inappropriate transpired in those dreams, but I can say I found them enjoyable despite their brevity. In the first dream, I was in one of the university's blocks where I had recently started studying as it was easier to focus, and most of my friends frequented this area. In the dream, I was sitting on a couch near the reception when 1L ran down the hallway to where her friends were sitting with their things. As a quick aside, I have a strong affinity for running and speed. For example, my favorite superhero is the Flash, so I have a penchant for being swift. In that dream, 1L was not the fastest I had seen but ran at a good pace. She glanced at me breathless and I complimented her, saying, "Not bad, you're quite fast." She smiled and thanked me and I added, "But you're still not as fast as me," leading her to smile mischievously and deny it. I then suggested a quick race between us, but just as we were about to begin, I woke up. In the second dream, which mirrored the first, the setting was a central building at our university. To access the upstairs area, one had to ascend a smooth arch-shaped walkway. I was running up the stairs but felt slower than usual and noticed it. To my left, I spotted 1L also running and closing the distance. We both turned our heads towards each other, smiled, giggled, and then accelerated before I awakened. These dreams, although unusual since it had been a long time since I dreamed of a girl, were enjoyable experiences for me. Soon after, the club to which 2R belonged organized a dinner event, and naturally 1L attended with her sister and their friends. I did not participate as I was out with my friends and I was uncertain about the food that would be served. While out, my friends who attended the event returned, one of them holding a box of Krispy Kreme donuts. He pointed out there were brownies as well, and when asked who made them, he said 1L did. Although I knew people were permitted to bring their own dishes and that 1L had prepared something, I was unaware of what she made or who brought what. I asked if I could have one and he nodded, so I took a brownie. It was not the most extraordinary brownie I had ever tasted, but it was good and I enjoyed it. Some guys playfully teased me about my bias, to which I partially agreed and laughed it off. Now I am conflicted about whether I made a mistake in my actions, and I am leaning towards believing it was a mistake. I sent 1L a follow request on Instagram and messaged her with a greeting, asking if she was the one who baked the brownies. I intended to initiate a conversation with her and see where it led. She responded with a yes, and I replied, expressing that I liked them and asking for the recipe. After that, she did not respond, so I took the hint and refrained from discussing it with anyone. Later, the female friend who is very close to both 1L and 2R, and who had previously asked 1L if she insulted me, informed me that she wanted to speak with me about something. Initially, I was apprehensive about what she might want to say, but I suspected my interaction with 1L might be one of the topics. As it turned out, it was because 1L had mentioned to her that I messaged her. While she did not outright insult me for it, what I learned led me to question my friendship with her. She stated that it was not typical for me to like one girl and then pursue her sister when things did not work out. I understand her perspective and I somewhat agree, but to be truthful, I had a minor crush on 1L even before the whole situation with 2R, something she was unaware of. Although I do not recall the conversation in detail, I gathered that she knew the guy who had frequently lingered around 2R, referring to him as 2R's boyfriend, though they were not officially dating. I did not display my anger, but I was upset that she withheld such information from me while I continued pursuing 2R, knowing I had no chance. Following this, I chose to significantly limit my contact with this female friend, not that it had been extensive. Regarding 1L and 2R, I opted to keep my distance in every regard. Recently, there was an event showcasing projects. I attended as one of the members responsible for managing the event, holding an important role that required interacting with various project members. 2R participated in one of those projects, and I maintained a civil and respectful demeanor which she reciprocated. For the time being, I have decided to avoid any interaction with 1L and 2R as I do not wish to engage with them. I do not harbor any hatred towards them, but I prefer to have no involvement in their lives and will not go out of my way to interact with them unless it is absolutely necessary, and even then, I will choose to keep it minimal and indifferent. In summary, I liked a girl that did not work out. I attempted to pursue her twin sister, with whom I initially had a minor crush but ultimately decided against it, and that also did not work out. Note, we live in a culture where dating is not as common as it is in the West. In our culture, individuals cannot engage in sexual relationships unless they are married, as this is extremely discouraged. Our university predominantly comprises international students. 1L, 2R, and I are all from the same home country. However, while I was born there, they were born elsewhere, though their parents are entirely from my home country, which is the case for both 1L and 2R. After sharing this narrative, I am seeking perspectives on this situation. Yes, I have moved on from both 1L and 2R, but I have not discussed this matter with anyone and am interested in the opinions of individuals I will never meet. Story 2. After 11 years and 2 kids, my husband accused me of cheating over a birthday wish from an old classmate. Why do you keep talking about your birthday? No one cares about mine. I'm exhausted and fed up with his trust issues. How do I address this chaos? I apologize for the length of this message. I am a 37-year-old female and my husband is a 37-year-old male. I have been with my spouse for nearly 11 years and we have been married for 7. We have never been unfaithful to each other. We maintain strong communication and trust. Although we have experienced challenging times, I consider these to be normal occurrences in a relationship. I have 2 children from a previous relationship. I am my husband's one and only partner. We began dating in our mid-20s. In the past 2.5 years, we have welcomed 2 children into our family. One was born this past December, and the other was born 2.5 years earlier. Our older child, who is between us, has many developmental delays and attends therapy a significant portion of the week, requiring between 6 to 8 appointments each week. Our child will also begin applied behavior analysis therapy soon in the nearby town, which is a 1.5-hour drive one way as there are no services available in our area. This therapy will occur from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., which is important to note in relation to my situation. Previously, I worked for Instacart and Walmart delivery to make extra money when I could before having my last child. However, we moved to a rural area where the job market is not conducive for such work. Therefore, my husband works an additional day if possible. Once applied behavior analysis therapy begins, the children and I will have 12-hour days filled with appointments and travel on our own, leaving me unable to take a regular job even if I wanted to. He is not comfortable with anyone else watching our children, and I agree with his perspective. I recognize that my husband is doing everything outside of the house, and I am truly grateful for that. I have been doing my best to manage responsibilities at home, alongside all of the appointments, specialists, geneticists, and hospitalizations. However, I am exhausted and fear that my situation will only worsen in the future unless we address it now. With all of this in mind, I have no desire, need, or inclination to seek out another partner. On Friday, I mentioned my birthday and my hopes of going out to eat since I usually stay at home or attend appointments, as I do not engage in any other activities. My husband became upset and said, "I don't know why you keep bringing up your birthday. No one makes a big deal about mine." I became frustrated and told him that I would gladly take him out if I did not depend on his income to do so. I also explained that I do try to ask him what he would like, but he insists that he wants nothing or becomes upset when I do manage to get him something. I walked away in anger, and he quickly apologized once I returned to the living room. My birthday was on Saturday. He continued to make comments to my oldest child, who is from my previous marriage and is now an adult, suggesting that I was probably talking to my boyfriend while I was on my phone responding to birthday wishes once we were outside. My child then stated that if I ever cheated on my husband, they would intervene. I scoffed at this, but he repeated similar comments 2 to 3 times on Saturday. On Sunday, I honestly cannot remember if he mentioned anything else about a boyfriend. Today, our oldest child had an appointment in Nashville, which is a 3-hour drive one way from our home. We went to check on why our child frequently gets croup when they are sick. My husband stayed at home with our 4-month-old. Once the appointment was over, I returned home. My husband was engaged in playing video games. I prepared dinner and fed the baby twice. After he finished his game, at some point during or after that, he noticed my Facebook feed, where Jay Crowell had wished me a happy birthday. My husband asked, "Isn't Jay Crowell the person you dated in high school? Why is he on your Facebook?" I replied, "I have never dated Jay Crowell. You must be confusing him with Jay Kroll as their last names are quite similar." He responded, I am fairly certain that this is the person you dated." I thought to myself, I am quite sure I know who I have been intimate with. All of this leads me to say that I do not understand why he is behaving this way, but it is very distressing. However, I suspect 2 reasons for his behavior. Firstly, there is little to no intimacy in our relationship. I rarely have the opportunity to shower, as I manage to do so only once every 3 days. For instance, tonight, after I felt the children were settled and asked if I could take a shower, he seemed annoyed that I wanted to do this. It was 8:50 p.m. While that is not particularly late, he wakes up between 3 and 5 a.m. depending on whether he has to go into the office or be in the field. I got home at 4:30 p.m., fed the baby, calmed our toddler who was experiencing an autistic meltdown, sat for a moment, cooked dinner, fed the baby again while he played games, gave the baby a bath and put the dishes away. He even inquired how long I would be in the shower, and I don't want to hurry through my shower. Secondly, it does not help that I am aware he is searching for images of women on Instagram, with his entire search feed displaying inappropriate content. I have known about this since November but have been unsure how to address it. Nonetheless, he will not approach me later after getting off work at 3 to 5 a.m. to discuss this. He no longer kisses me before bed, a routine he stopped after our youngest was born. He used to kiss me before leaving for work and would hug me throughout the day. Instead, he behaves as if he only has physical needs, such as for clothes, food, and lights. I feel drained and unsupported in nearly every aspect, as if I have another child to care for. If you have read this far, I am seeking advice on how to 1. Get my husband to stop referencing imaginary boyfriends. 2. Address the Instagram situation. 3. Ensure he feels acknowledged and valued. 4. Discuss any other issues he or I can work on. Additionally, he is resistant to counseling and was not supportive of me seeing a counselor when I needed assistance.